Hey, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit more transparent and just being open. So here we go. I've really been struggling with getting up and going to church on Sundays. I really have been. I find it like it's so much easier to get up and, go to work or go to doctor's appointments or do the things that I have to do or the things that I want to do. And then when it comes to going to church and, knowing my personal need for it and knowing that I very much need that community and I need that fellowship, I feel like it's a lot harder because I feel like I keep trying to put God into a box, and when he doesn't do what I think he should do, I kind of, stop going to church because it's like, well, you're not, like, I get put in a prison inside my mind and spiritually, and I'm like, well, you're not doing what I think you should do, so I'm just not gonna go to church because you're not doing this. And I feel like we put a very low expectation on God, and not realizing that he actually wants to exceed our expectations, that he will do immeasurably more than we could ever imagine. And I feel like that's something I honestly truly struggle with, is, I put this expectation, like, I want to be married by the time I was 25, and I'm 24, and I've been in and out of, like, these really horrible relationships, and I'm not any closer to getting married, and I want to have kids by this time, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, and I want to have my own house, and this and that, and it's like, well, when I'm, putting my human, tiny, little, measly expectations on God, then it doesn't happen because that's not the plan he has for me, I get disappointed and I get hurt and I get angry. So I stop going to church. I stop reading my Bible. And I fail to realize that maybe that there's something bigger and there's something greater. I actually just finished listening to a sermon on this just a few minutes ago, which kind of inspired this video, and it's by Pastor Stephen Furtick, and it's called Maybe God, Invisible Prisons, and it kind of went through the story of John the Baptist in prison. And John the Baptist was in prison, and after preaching that Jesus was gonna come and he was gonna bring fire and he was gonna separate the goats and the sheep, and he ends up in prison, and he's kind of like, yo, like, this isn't exactly how he worded it, but he's like, yo, Jesus, like, what are you doing? Like, this is not what I expected at all. This is not what I said you were gonna do. And Jesus basically tells him, go back and tell John. He told John's disciples this. He said, go back and tell John all that you see. The blind see, the lame walk, people with leprosy are healed. Like, Jesus did not come to fulfill my expectations. Like, Jesus came to fulfill prophecy and do what he said, and that was to save us from our sins and so that we could have a relationship with him. And I feel like my expectation on salvation has very much been, when I get saved, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. When I get saved, I'm gonna be the perfect guy, and we're gonna get married, and we're gonna raise this amazing family, blah. And then, or my expectation is, I'm gonna have this career by this age and this car by this age. I'm saved, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna have no problems, I'm never gonna be sick. And then we get sick. We get hurt. The person, that guy or girl that said they loved us, just broke up with us because, you know, people are fickle these days. They break up with us and we get hurt and we get sad and we get lonely and we get angry with God, and we start wondering. But that's the thing, is God always wants our questions. God never wants us just to hold questions in our head and not ask them. Like, He wants to know how we're feeling about something that's going on in our lives. And even if the situation doesn't change, or maybe I won't get married by the time I'm 25, and that's okay. Because like Jeremiah 29:11 says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans of good and not of evil, to give you a hope and a future. So that's kind of where I'm at. I really don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the future holds, but all I know is who God says He is, and God says that He has a plan. And He is good, and He is the solid rock on which I stand. So that's what I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to trust that God is who He says He is, and not let my expectations fill my head, because I do that a lot. So I will see y'all next week.